Today I wanted to show you these. I think you may have seen them in just uncommented flip through video, but I enjoyed making them so much that I thought that maybe I could do like walkthrough and comment on these. And so first thing first, these are all very similar, if not the same. They came out to be the same because I've gotten a jelly plate still fairly recently, and I also experimented with making my own stencils because stencils are expensive, and when you're creating art or when you want to create art, it pays off to have your own stencils because others have licenses and you need to figure out if you can actually create art that you can sell with these stencils, and in many cases you need to pay for that, or you can't even do that, so you can just do that like in video or something. But also because I love experimenting and I just love trying new things, and so DIYing also, and so I thought that I would give it a try. A lot of these prints were on a large paper, I think like A3. They didn't really came out to be so that I could use them as standalone pieces of art in many cases. In some they did, in many they did not. And so I still kept them because paper is expensive, paint is expensive, and I thought that maybe I could use them and create something with them. In some cases I created like collage papers with the stencils, which is also great because it's collage material, you can add it to your piece. And with some of these I created these little booklets. I still have like dozens of these that I would like to work through and maybe even like later on like scan and create a zine that I could share with you guys or maybe sell, I don't know. But I started when I thought about making the prints, failed prints, into zines or sketchbooks or whatever you want to call it. I didn't have any idea like where I want to go with these and like what I want to create in these, which I think in its own is a good thing because it's just very relaxing and enjoyable practice. It's just where I just sat with some papers and markers and paints and just try to just let go and just see where it takes me, no matter if it's something that I could use later or if it's something that I like, because this was very new to me, and so it was also out of my comfort zone, which is also a great thing for me. I love doing that really. And so a lot of these are very colorful, and you can view it like this or like this or even like this. In some cases I've started putting in markers and then just let it go, like let it sit aside, put it aside. But maybe I should get back to it and maybe even like try recording a commented session where I create in these just to see how I think when I need to talk about how I think. But yeah, these are all made with the stencils that I've created, and so I just outlined the shapes, colored, and used acrylic markers to put some marks in to start with. And as you can see, I really enjoy working with saturated colors and overlaying the colors to see what happens basically, because even if I know in my head how pink or red and blue can create like purple, it's just different when you print, because it just, I don't know, it just for me it's all about the experience. If you know something like theoretically or you see someone else do it, for me I need to really experience it and get it into my hands and that way into my mind. And so yeah, I've outlined some of these shapes, I've all of them. I have colored in, I've put in marks, and it's just these are all like this, in different ways and different shapes. I think I've used, in some cases, one stencil and just rotated the stencil like this, like this, like this, to overlay the shapes when I was printing. In some cases, I've also used different stencils, like this shape, I think is a different stencil, and I think, yeah, it's pretty, I think I like it. I like the colors, especially if it's like this very small and you cut it out and you take it out of the context, because then you can play with it in a different way and you can put in extra stuff like photos and text. And I was thinking of editing some of these digitally, maybe, and see where it takes me and what happens with these. And as you can see, I really like using the gel plate because I like using colors pretty much out of the tube, and I like using saturated colors because it just brings so much happiness and so much joy. And like these blues and these pinks and blues and this yellow, just, I don't know, for some reason they work so well together. This palette, that I just created like a whole bunch of these prints with this, and then this came out of it. And this line here, and this line, this is where the edge of the jelly plate was, and this is like the rest of the paper because the jelly plate is smaller than the paper. Even though I tried to cut it, but that's also another problem because I'm not good at cutting, and so each of these is a different shape, different size, and yeah, it's fun. And then in some cases, some of the prints were done on different types of paper, like packaging and tissue paper, and you know, other papers, like even like papers from books, where you can still, because some of these colors are transparent, so you can still see some of the words, but it changes the words because there's color, if that makes sense. And so some of these are for some of these I've used the collage papers that I created using some of my handmade stencils. With some of these I've used just markers and just made marks. Some of these are created with brushes and like leftover paint where it just was like, oh, okay, I have this paint, but I don't want it to go to waste. And so I was like, yeah, let's try and see, you know, the marks and make some marks. Yeah, and some of these are different types of stencils. And so this one, I think, reminded me a lot of chess for some reason. And I've also had this cut out from a poster, a leaflet, and I really liked it. And because I had this little print or this little zine, and for some reason it just went well together, I decided to give it a little bit of, maybe unconsciously decided to give it a little bit of chessy vibe, and put in these marks, which in hindsight kind of remind me of the keys on the piano, or you know, the music keys and the music sheets. And it just kind of ties into the theme of music, I guess. And these kind of seem like floaty lines of poetry or lyrics, accompanied by like music. That's the vibe I get out of this when I flip through it. And I tried to limit the palette, so that's why just the black and white marker, because the print itself is colorful, and this is in itself like has a color of its own. I'm actually thinking maybe outlining some of the piano to make it maybe stand out better. I don't know. Let's see. And then yeah, it also kind of like looks futuristic to me, because chess also was kind of like a futuristic feel, or the era in which chess was, the chess era. It's kind of a different era. And so yeah, this is one of the ones that I created, and like I said, I really enjoyed it. It was very meditative practice for me, and something that I really encourage anyone to do. Use the papers that you have, instead of just throwing them away because you don't like the outcome of the artwork that you created. It still can be reused and still can get a new life. There's this one, the paradox one. I don't even know why I used the paradox. I think the word just reminded me of a name of a perfume for whatever reason. Maybe, I don't know. And again, these are just abstract, kind of abstract, like mixed media prints, where I used paint, very diluted paint and inks, and I created on the gel plate these speckles and these like splashy effects, because even if you roll out the ink, it still kind of wants to get away from the gel plate because it's oily and it repulses water and everything that has water in it. And again, the shapes come from sometimes one stencil, sometimes many other. When I used one, what I did is sometimes I used it like this, sometimes I rotated it like this or that, or even like this, to use and overlap the shapes of that one stencil. And again, I limited this to just using black and white markers, because like I said, I love using saturated colors, but that means that the print itself came up this way. And so I thought, let's not overdo it, and let's not even like stress myself with using different colors, because I'm also testing out different media in this case. I'm not a collage person, and so I wanted the collages on it to stand out and have their own like space. And so I limited the palette because the palette of the prints is rather vibrant, and I'm thinking of actually covering this because it's busy enough and this just doesn't work in there. I don't even know why I did that, but yeah, maybe I'll just cover it up or digitize it and do something digitally, because that's also something I would love to try. And because this one turned out like really busy, I kind of used this and cut out it to halves, because this and this is like the same image, this guy and here, and so I just cut it into half. And the busyness of this kind of to me ties in to the busyness of this, because these people are watching something and they're thinking thoughts, and to me this kind of reminds me of the busyness of thoughts that you can get, even like with these marks. It's just different thoughts in different thoughts and different trails of thoughts. And so yeah, it kind of, oh, here we go again, this little thing. I have no idea why I put it there. But in this case, it's just, two people, and some of these they looked finished at the point, but I left them that way also because something in me was telling me that maybe I could get back to like this one, definitely this one, right? And that's also something that you can do. You can, put it aside and get back to it later on. Here we have another one. So also Again, I think that this is not marks, but this is another stencil, because I tried different ones where some had more cutout space in this, and some were more intricate than others, and some were bigger shapes and very simplistic shapes and simplistic stencils that way. And in this case, I tried to limit the palette to 2 colors, and just see how that goes, because like I said in the previous ones, the palette is very very bright and very busy, and so is the outcome of the printing, right? Especially if you outline the shapes. And so I again limited the palette of markers used. I wish I had more of these acrylic markers, but they are pretty expensive. I'm looking into finding some that could be more affordable, because they don't often last too long, and I don't think I use them often enough for me to buy expensive ones yet. And I don't think I actually use them when creating an art piece that much, other than for some details or contrasting colors. And so this is very simplistic one, and I think some of these are still waiting for me to finish them off, but I'm for now letting them sit, and like I said, I might actually digitize it and maybe work on some of these digitally, even like overlaying and cutting out more things, putting in more text, and stuff like that, and see where that goes. Maybe a digital zine might come out of it. You never know what happens, right? And where you want to take things. And like I said, for some of these collage papers I used books, just like here, and some of them, this is where I used color shapers, just scraping color on the paper. In some cases I just put on blobs of color and just put together the papers, and just it creates shapes of its own, and the colors blend on its own. In some cases just put the paper like this together, and in some cases I run brayer over it to help the colors spread better. And again, I used also cutouts from magazines, and this is one of the other ones that's very busy, where I used different stencils and just turned them around. And these busier ones, I think especially in this case, are still waiting to be finished. There's still space where I am looking for things to put in and how I want to take it, because I really enjoyed making these, like I said, and I got the idea that I could do something more with them and share them with people, so that they have their own life and they have purpose. And it's a great experimentation for me, and also stepping out of my comfort zone, because this is something that I have never done before. So these are either unfinished or not actually started, or finished or half finished pieces. And I also wanted to show you these, because I think I messed these up, where that's why I didn't finish them. I think I also had a session or a couple of sessions where I was just creating these, and then you get kind of bored with it at some point, and I tried using different things like tissue papers with glue, and it didn't work out. It just doesn't work out well, and I didn't like the outcome. I tried putting in different colored papers, like cutouts or tear out papers from magazines with different shapes and colors on it, but I don't think that worked out well. One thing that didn't work out is that I didn't really have a clear idea what I wanted to do, but I wanted to test if I even would like putting something like this on this. And this is another thing where these come in very handy, because you can just experiment in them more freely. The prints didn't came out well anyway, and so using different things in it was just like using new paint, where you're just seeing how the paints work, and if you like going that way, and if you like using the paints at all, right? And so that's this one. I like this cover, I think. Yeah, but and it's kind of busy, so I don't think it's very clear, but like I said, it's a learning journey, getting out of my comfort zone, and I tried using some sprays, and that didn't work out, simply because I think the sprayer was maybe dried out, or blocked, and so it didn't spray out as well as I thought, and I just had to use silver, and I don't really use metallic colors that much. In some cases I'm just trying to, see how things would work out and how I would like to use these papers, if I could use them, or if it would work out using them together with these prints, or if I should just keep them simple. And I think I would keep them simple. Here we go again with simplicity. And maybe adding in like just text, or like these black and white images, or very simple shape images that would work out best with these. I think because they're overall very busy. And so I think that's it. These are the ones where I think created at the very beginning, or maybe at the very end. Either I started and I didn't know, like I said, in all of these I didn't have a clear plan, but either these started it and then it started to take shape in these, or these were at the end, where after these I was just maybe getting bored of this and just wanting to get it over with, because this is like one series of prints, if you can see it. It's like one, these are kind of from one series of different colors and different shapes, but still one series, one session of prints. And so yeah, I just wanted to share these because I think it's a great way to practice and come out of a comfort zone and use what you have without having to buy all the new stuff, because it's all very expensive. And I think part of creating great things is the guilt that you spend the money on it. I know it seems like wasting money because you know how expensive it is, but you do not need to throw it away. You can just reuse it and give it new life, and maybe that way you'll create something that will take you somewhere where you create something that you enjoy and that you find works out for you. And so yeah, I would like to take you through these two things. This was children's board book. My sister has 2 kids, and so they didn't use this for quite some time, and so I took it. And this was also for children, but like those water coloring books where you use water brush, and if I can show it, so it's like you can see maybe not. There's like the image, and when you put the water on it, the color starts to come through, and then when it dries, the color goes away again. And so I took these, and I thought I'd use them because, just again testing things and seeing if I can find materials at home that could be used to create art, or to to have like a continuous practice or to use different techniques on. And so I found these, and I had a lot of collage papers that I made when jelly printing, and so I just decided that I'd see how it goes and what the boards in these can actually withstand. And yeah, I wanted to take you through these. They're not exceptional, they're not great, they're just for practice really and just for play. But I really enjoyed that because I kind of stand by that you should have sketchbooks where you practice for practice, like to grow your skills, but also kind of low pressure sketchbooks where you just behave like a child and you just put paint on, not caring what it becomes or whether it becomes something, because it always becomes something. And these low pressure sketchbooks or low pressure books, they're meant to be low pressure, no stress, no judgment, especially not judging it as a good or bad thing. They just are, and there's really no idea behind this. It's just to test out different mark making, collages, just putting stuff on without actually thinking about it, and just trusting the process and see where it takes me or what I learned from it, and how and whether this or something similar could potentially be part of regular practice. And so I've used these. I've used collage papers that I created jelly printing. I've also used collage papers from books. I used acrylic markers to color in a kind of like Zentanglish way. Let's see. Yeah, I also used in these books because when you paint there may be a lot of leftover paint, and so in these books I also used that leftover paint so that it has some sort of purpose and it's not really just wasted away, but it serves as part of a practice or a learning journey. I've also tried being more loose, and this is the great thing about the low pressure sketchbooks, or actually low judgment sketchbooks, really, because you can do whatever and however, and try not to judge yourself and try not to judge the quality of the outcome, and the fact that you're actually not wasting any precious expensive papers. You are, in this case, I was reusing something that no one already was using or that was already damaged, like this book was. And so you can test out techniques in this way. You can just sew it, you do not have to sometimes, but you can just sew it, and you can even take it with you when going on a trip and paint there and use it as a travel sketchbook. I also used some of my stencils and some of the collage papers that I created with my handmade stencils, and I also just tried different things. Like I created this was it's created using tissue paper, I believe, and you can spray or spritz paint on it, but before that you put diluted glue on it, and you kind of bunch it up, or so you texture it with your fingers, and then spray the paint if you want, and it creates textured papers. I've seen that somewhere, and I wanted to try and see what it looks like, how it works, and for what I could possibly use that, if at all. And I tried using here to see how it works and how it behaves. And to be honest, I actually didn't like it at all. It's not my thing. It's a fun project to try maybe with your kids, but it's not really for me. Or maybe I just did it the wrong way. Who knows? I also tried using different materials that I've never before used, like the bubble wrap, and just printing and doing texture using bubble wrap, and again just using these tissue papers. And then also it taught me that using layers is great, but as long as it's fairly matte, because as soon as it starts being, as soon as it starts being like shinier, the more shinier it is, and the bigger amount of paint there is on the page that is shiny, the pages just tend to stick together. So that was also part of the journey. And yeah, I've also tried how these could work. This is collage papers used, and I made marks with acrylic marker, so just like scribbles, and then like these, you know, rectangular markers using it as a stamp. This came from one of those stencils that I've made, same for this one, and the rest is not filled or finished. I guess I kind of lost interest in this one, but I'm keeping the unfinished ones too, because at some point you might want to get back to it, and if not, then years later you can do something with it. And this one I really enjoyed, actually. I enjoyed creating especially the cover. I love the colors. I've used them in many of my prints, especially like I think it was summer when I was creating this, and it's just very sunny, and these colors just work amazingly together. And I also used these circles. They're made using, what was it, like something I think came from one of the paint bottles, the cap, I think, and it worked amazingly, and I really enjoyed it. This is more of a, I'd say more of an art journal rather than a sketchbook. Again, I used some paint, just, you know, putting it on without just, you know, without any idea, without judgment, without expectations, and just seeing where it takes me. And I really like many of the pieces, let's call it piece, that are in this. I like these graphic lines using the broad markers, and I also like the kind of natural thing that the inks, when you spritz water on it, that what they created. I don't know what happens with this one. Why there is the beige. I think that possibly it's like some sort of accident, and I tried to, you know, remove the paint, but it got worse. But I like this piece because it's a transparent paper, and the layers behind that are visible, and I really like that. Same with this one. This is transparent, and I need to figure out what papers were these, so that, because they're transparent, because these actually are not transparent, they're semi-transparent, and I really love like this. Like, I don't know what paper it is. And see, I wasn't using any like transparent gels or gel mediums, so in the places where the glue is not really well put, they're starting to peel off, but that doesn't matter. This is fun. art journal, right? This is a sketchbook. Yeah, I need to figure out what this paper is. I think it might be some sort of like tissue paper, possibly. Well, I'll figure it out. Maybe I still have some. Then this very kind of intuitive art, and again, as I think recycling or reusing some of the unused leftover paint. And oh, this one, I really like this one because again, the colors, the yellow, the muted, like I think it's Payne's gray, and these colors. This is from a book, and I use the pages as collage papers, but I put the paint on with color shapers, just did like squiggly lines and just shapes and marks with the color shaper. This is from stencil, and then I just blended it in using a brush and putting in some of these repetitive shapes. And I even like this part, but I really like this as a whole. And this is also one of my favorites. I just like how this and this yellow work together. For some reason, I should have maybe like kind of these borders, like the strong black, or maybe have it continue this way. But I really like this. I really enjoyed working in this board book and creating this art journal. And again, I think it's a great way to recycle paint, use your new supplies, use your newly created collage paper so that you can get familiar with this, and use whatever you have at home so that you're not always just spending money on new things, because there's a lot of stuff that we have at home, like books, that can be used. There's still a paper and can still be used for sketchbooking and painting. When a sketchbook doesn't work for you, I don't think it. When I think that sketchbook doesn't work for me, I stop and I think it's maybe the other way around. I do not work for the sketchbook because sketchbook is a tool and it's supposed to be used, but I'm supposed to find a way how to use it. It's like any other tool. The tool always works, but you are on a journey of learning how it works for you and how you are supposed to work with that. And so that's also one thing that I love when using this type of things, or when using books that you can find home, because the papers in them are different and they work different than the professional papers, and so you just have a learning journey and you can actually experiment in them maybe even more than you would in any other sketchbook, because the paper is old, and it's probably very cheap paper, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't hold water and paint. And so go for it, use whatever you have at home. And so thank you for watching, subscribing, supporting, and again, feel free to check out the description box because there is more information and possibly a link to my newsletter, or to the weekly letters as I like to call it. Okay, well, see you again next week.